Thank you, Ali. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good morning or good evening, depending on the time zones that you're logged in. It's great what technology has done to us. We are all live from different time zones right now, at least three time zones or four time zones that I am now seeing. And the beauty is that we're talking about the same thing. I am live from a co-working space. Some are from home, some are working. And we're talking about how work has been reimagined. What better way to demonstrate it? So first of all, I welcome all the guests. Uh, Ali, you've already introduced them. I won't dive into that and suck this time out on the introduction, but rather dive straight into the main important question, right? So you've all dabbled into, a life where you were answerable to an employer. The answerable part still remains, even if you are an entrepreneur, because when you raise money, you're answerable to your stakeholders, your investors, of course, to your customers all the time. So now that you're on a different journey, my first question, and I'll ask this, I'll start this from Samira. What was the most challenging part in switching? Because when we talk about work being reimagined, this is a very important aspect. I'm glad that Ali included it in the summit, that entrepreneurship is also being reimagined. So before we go there, let's start how the transition is happening, especially what COVID has done. It has made more people go towards entrepreneurship than actually being employed. And I'll just share this news with you. I was reading Guardian last night that the British government is finding it increasingly difficult to recruit workforce. And this is the largest crisis since the 90s because not many people are available as economies are opening up. I'll give you two more examples. Right now, I'm live here from San Mateo. And in the past week or so, while I've been roaming around the streets here in California, I see this sign up on Starbucks, on many other shops and stores. We are giving $1,500, $1,200 bonus to sign up if you want employment. Imagine. I mean, people want you back because not many people are coming back. I was curious and I asked, and I said, this town has realized, and many people have realized the opportunity that freelancing has brought and the opportunity that you can earn more, while sitting at the comfort of your home or wherever you are in the world. So with that said, Samira, what has been, in your opinion, in your case, the biggest challenge in transitioning?
Hi everyone. Good morning from Texas. So, couple of things. The biggest challenge for me when I transitioned, I actually have a little story. About 6 years ago, I used to work in oil and gas for about 15 years, and I lost my job. I was fired, and it's a very common theme in oil and gas when the prices dip, employees have to exit. So. One of my biggest challenges in transitioning was there's no set income. It's so unpredictable. You have been used to getting your checks every month from your employer. Now you have to solely depend on yourself. And when you work in a corporate environment, you are like, for example, I was an accountant. So I was responsible for a specific task in a very specific department in accounting. I was not responsible for HR or logistics or budgeting. When you become an entrepreneur, you are responsible for all of those departments. You have to figure out how to budget. You have to figure out how to employ people. You have to figure out where your materials will come. You have to figure out how to produce a product that people will buy. And the third thing that I found really challenging is when you work in a corporation, your hours are set. You are there from 8 to 5 or 9 to 6. When you are an entrepreneur, there are no set hours. So you really have to manage your time. You can't uh, you have to set your hours. You don't have time to watch Netflix or play games all day. You really have to be disciplined. So those were the three things that I found challenging.
Thank you, Samira. I believe discipline is a very important aspect, and the transition between the work hours when you have a 9 to 5 in your mind, actually they're blurred. They're not there anymore. I absolutely agree. You have to have that passion. And when I talk of that passion, I would also like to know, Salman, coming to you now. because you've been in the trade marketing business for a while. You work for Cadbury and others. I was looking at your profile, and now you're doing this startup, right? But of course, it utilizes your trade marketing experience, but is a very different industry altogether. So, what were the challenges that you faced in transitioning?
Thank you so much for asking this question. My situation was a bit very different and more tricky, I would say. When you are a high flyer in a multinational, have been growing very fast, very high salary, almost everything paid off, and you have promised future roles also. It's not easy. I can tell you this. It's not easy when you have to decide whether you want to leave this fancy world and a handsome package and go to a world where you don't know what's going to coming to you. But I think and it's not only that in such situation that you have to convince yourself, you have to convince a lot of other people around you, because there are a lot of people linked to you. So how you going to manage your family, your people talk, what are you doing, why are you doing this, you're doing so good in a career. So it becomes, I would say, much more difficult when you're in this kind of situation. But I think that's where your the long term mindset and believe in you come in picture. How much you believe in yourself, and also if you're doing good for an organization, the chances are you're going to do even better for yourself. So I think it's that's where your risk taking approach come into the picture, and your belief in yourself come into the picture. And also, I think if you have good people around you who can guide you and help you in making such kind of decision, this is what helps you. But it wasn't easy for me. I'm just been in this fully. By the way, my new boss is my wife, because she's the one who started this. So it's a tricky situation for me that my boss is going to be my wife. So yeah, it was challenging, but I think that's where your own belief into the project and in your entrepreneurial approach. During my career also, I've taken always an entrepreneurial approach, so that helped me, that I was always planning to do something different within my jobs also. So that helped me kept growing there. I believe that will keep me growing in the business also now. So but a lot of challenges, and it's purely the mindset which helped me to come over those challenges.
Thank you, Salman. So I believe there's a very, very important message here, guys, those who are listening or tuning in, that when all is well, we have seen two different approaches. When everything stopped, and when all was going really well, and you're on the peak and you have all those shiny, nice promises, and you have to make the move. So important. And also very important fact is that you're working. I mean, I'm sure it would be more easier now that the half of the day, the boss is now the boss for the whole day as well. So yeah, that's important. Good one. Badr, I know, who has been in this business.
वैसे आप तीली लगाने में माहिर हो गए हैं. Salman, my apologies, but ये फंसी गलत गेम खेल रहे हैं. But anyway, बताइए.
मेरे ख्याल में सब लोग इस बात से डिनाई तो नहीं करेंगे कि who's the boss, right? And who's the boss?
We all know the boss. Right? We all know the boss.
If we all know the boss, there is no way that we can escape from it. The point is, वो बॉस हम एक खास वक्त के बाद मानते हैं या टाइम देते हैं, और उसी को आप अगर फुल टाइम जॉब में भी बॉस बना लें तो जिंदगी मुश्किल जरूर हो सकती है. आसान कितनी होगी मुझे नहीं मालूम, लेकिन ये जब मैं ट्राई करूंगा तो फिर मैं इसका जवाब दूंगा. So Badr, I know for a very long time. Badr has been in this business. He's been doing all this, everything, digitalization and technology. I would say for the sake of Pakistan since time immemorial, because but the great interesting element is that he had his business for a while he still went on to work for big, great names, Facebook, Google, Twitter, and has been recently evangelizing a lot for e-commerce for the whole country at leading the National E-commerce Council. So this is very difficult because you already have a co-founder who is running the business full time, and you cannot dedicate. So you need to rely on someone who runs the shop, right? And you've done job, you've done business, you've held them both together as well, and you're now back in business and another venture. Your transition and challenges, I'm sure, are different. So would you explain, what was going on in your mind?
Thank you so much, Fasi and Ali. And absolutely, I think as Samira explained, Samira, my challenge was totally opposite actually. So all my jobs were never related to the previous ones, and that was at that point in time, back in those days, was not considered good from an HR continuity perspective. That my first job was more from a marketing perspective, the next one was a public sector one, and they were like, you don't have any career in a very defined way. But firstly, that's where I realized at some point in time that a job is a very set pattern, and you can't really explore beyond certain limits which an organization defines, or if the culture isn't there in that organization to experiment much, you really can't do a lot of stuff. And interestingly, we three friends recognized the same challenge in all of our different organizations, and that's where we started thinking to explore as to what we can do together. And so while we were on our jobs, we started experimenting small little things as literally off work hours, and that's where if I recognize and kind of relate, I think that's where our entrepreneurial journey started off. So we experimented with a lot of things in parallel to our job. So we worked on weekends, we worked late nights, and because back then, very honestly, in Pakistan, there weren't any incubators or not even coffee shops, by the way. So it was all being done in either of our bedrooms. We started like the garage option. It was just my bedroom actually. And we literally spent nights exploring things, and we failed at few things miserably before we actually came up with this idea of Bramers and then Fishery. But I think so my challenge is, once I transitioned completely from my tech roles and other roles in employment or consulting to full-time entrepreneurial role, I think I was already a little more comfortable than an average transition is. And that was really, really helpful. And I think that I strongly now recommend the same path to most people who really want to explore this. Because, if you haven't really experimented with it, you really can't burn your boats and jump into and take a leap of faith to the next big thing. And I'm sure Salman and Samira can vouch for the same thing. The challenge is that entrepreneurship is neither less hard work, neither more pay, and nor less stress. All these things actually multiply, not just like grow incrementally, but they multiply. So generally, it's not a Hollywood kind of a scene where you think that people have left their jobs, they're dancing, and they're moving to the next entrepreneurial initiative, and they're kind of opening up something. So I think in my case, I was a little lucky to experiment in my early job days with little things, and then eventually start something, and then move into it at a later stage when it was stable enough.
Thank you, brother. Samira, so my question to you now is, and I'll after this question, I'll switch to a more rapid fire kind of a mode, because we have very limited time, and I'm sure the audience wants to know a lot more on different perspectives on different issues. So we'll switch to rapid fire after this, and a brief answer to this question as well. So, brother, use the word that there were some failures. I would say some setbacks, right? Whenever you transition, nothing ever is smooth. In my 17 years of professional working history, I've never seen a perfect plan being executed perfectly the way it was planned or intended to, right? So things do change, and this is a bigger transition. And can you shed some light on the few areas where you had not foreseen that would be a bigger issues, where you failed, you tried again, or probably you left, or you fixed it, or you succeeded at it? Because many people, when they're transitioning, they have certain fears or myths in their mind. What if I don't make it? Oh my God, what would my family say? In-laws kya kahenge? BV kya kahegi? What would my ex-colleagues say? My boss would definitely make a fool or joke out of me, right? That this is what you left us for. So there are lots of things, and people are very, very reluctant for many issues. One is also the financial issues. When I have 6 months or 1 year of enough of saving, I'll move on. As you grow old, the risk appetite also decreases because of the financial liability. So many other things play a role to it. What were yours in terms of the failures along the way, where you thought that this is over, or where you thought, no, this can't stop me, I'll still continue?
Yeah. So I can relate to Badr a little bit. As he said, when he was transitioning, when I was transitioning, I was actually going to night school to learn fashion. So I would have a full day of work and then at least 4 hours in school, 3 times a week. So I started to learn what I wanted to do. But my biggest fear, actually, my biggest challenges actually came from fear. Fear of failure, fear of not knowing what to do, fear of not having funds. I still have family. When I lost my job, my son was in high school. So it was more of a psychological fear for me. If I couldn't provide for him, he still had college to go to. So that fear actually kept me back for many years. So to overcome that, when I left my corporate job, I actually found a part-time job to sustain that income. I took that experience in accounting and actually worked part-time for a restaurant that I actually still do. That pays my bills, and that I spend about maybe 40% of my time. The rest of the time goes to me in working on my business. So the fear was actually really real for me as a mother and a woman. I was really afraid of failing. Like you said, what would people say? Hey, she left a corporate job that I had a really great package. I was traveling, I was given so many things, and I just left it. I never went back. And I feel so liberated, so independent right now. And I just love it. I would never go back. So
Thank you, Samira. So, quick, Salman, what were your fears or your failures along the journey?
I think fear was there. Failure, I haven't yet experienced yet because just 4 months where I've completely transitioned. So maybe some failures will come in the journey, and I'm already seeing a lot of surprises and challenges. So hopefully I'll try to overcome them. But of course, fear was very much similar as Samira said, because when you're set, when you're doing good, it's not easy. And one of the fear was very much similar, that you have a family, you have fixed, expenses, and Dubai is not a cheap place to live, to be very honest. So that fear also kept me away from it from long. But then I planned for it. So how I overcome that? This plan of leaving the corporate world was a 3-year plan. So I didn't do it overnight. I did plan it for a good amount of time. It took me a little extra year because I was initially planning to leave the job in 2 years, but it took me an extra year. So it was completely planned. Financials were planned. Funding was planned. So Alhamdulillah, things went in line with the plan. But it wasn't a decision where I would say, and I agree with with Badr, that you should do something better, and when you are really comfortable and confident, then you can jump in it fully. So my wife was doing it, so the confidence kept building that this is becoming bigger, this is becoming bigger, and then we agreed that this is the right time where I can come in and take bigger risk to make it bigger.
That's so amazing that we have so many different perspectives coming in on the journey, the transition. Sometimes it's very planned, sometimes it's not that well planned, and both have a different impact on you. Both have a kick, both have a different rush that it gives you. Sometimes a spontaneity, sometimes things working on the way you intend them to be, and you really want to take it up a notch. So to my wife, whenever she sees this or is watching, uh, please start your business and hire me as soon as you can, so I move on. uh, you're the best boss. So yeah, Badr, coming to you, what were your uh, setbacks along the journey?
See, actually, setbacks is very relative. The first thing, one thing I really learned was that we need to define our own success. Generally speaking, when we are referring to setbacks, we are referring to financial challenges, mostly, of course, in terms of remuneration or packages or compensation or whatever you want to call it. So if you define your own success, keeping in view from a very strong faith perspective that, whatever you got to earn, it's already there. So if you define your success in terms of your impact, if in terms of your comfort, as Samira highlighted, it's not about, actually, at the end of the day, money can buy you a bed, but not sleep. So you need to sleep well, and and that's more important. So I think I defined my success differently. I had my own personal priorities, and that really helped me make that leap of faith very comfortably. That corporate jobs, nothing is bad. It's just that everyone has a different preference, and at times you really feel more comfortable and convenient, because of course all companies, even startups, even entrepreneurs, need employees. So it's not that employee is bad and entrepreneur is good. It is that what makes you feel more comfortable and what challenges you every day. Some people don't want to be challenged. They would really want to have a 9 to 6 kind of a routine. In my case, I'm an opposite person, totally opposite. I really don't prefer a set routine or a set pattern. I want to be challenged, and I challenge myself. I challenge the status quo a lot of times. So I think once you define your success, you are very clear as to what is a setback. Right? And mostly speaking, people generally relate success to money, and actually that is the worst thing. So money should not be it's a kind of love of triangle problem. Money should not be the focus. Follow your passion, and that should have an impact in terms of financial success, but that should not be the only goal. So I think that helps to clarify that there are no setbacks technically. There's nothing which is very successful. Sorry for a long answer. It's always a cyclical thing as a business and any seasonal thing. But I think you feel better if you know what you are really getting in terms of your success.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, I believe it's an ongoing journey. And Tony Robbins, in one of his books or a lecture, I remember, said that, what is happiness, right? And people believe that they're successful when they're very happy. They think it's an achievement that they've had. And he said that after his thousands of hours spent on training people and coaching people, happiness is equal to progress. If you make progress in whatever you're doing, you get this amazing feeling which says, hey, I'm happy, which gives you the feeling I'm successful, I'm making progress. So I agree, progress is very important. Now, what I would like is that we do a rapid fire. So I'll ask the top 3 things of various things, and whatever comes the top of your mind, you just keep saying it so that we have different perspectives. And if someone else has said it, please come up with a different answer. I know it would be difficult on the go, but this way we'll have more perspectives on things. So the first and most important thing is everyone wants to do this. Everyone has this plan. I have a vision. I want to be my own boss. It's exciting. I want to drive those fancy cars or wear those nice suits. So someone has a different motivation, or I'm really impressed or inspired by people that I can relate to in my family, in my circle, and I want to be something like them, right? So the path is always different, right? And I want to actually make it very, very simple for anyone who wants to embark on the journey. Not everyone who is working in a job should think that it's not a good thing to do. You still can be very entrepreneurial, Salman said. So I've done this many years in my life, and everyone would agree that it depends the nature of work, the environment where you're in, where you get to create impact and get to create things. So don't take it that way, what I'm about to tell now. So if you want to transition, and if you want that journey to happen, sometimes you have a plan, sometimes you don't have a plan, sometimes you know what you have to do, sometimes you just know, I have to start a business. What are those top 3 things that one must know or do in order to transition? Very realistically, imagine I have a 9 to 5, I'm feeding my family, right? Sometimes I don't care about my rent, sometimes it gives me the rent, and I have to transition out. And we've heard 3 different perspectives where no plan, spontaneity, and both in hand. So let's start from you, Samira. What would be those top 3 things?
I would say you have to know what you want to do. You really, really have to be passionate about what you want to do. You can't do something that someone says or somebody your cousin likes. You really have to want to do that. For me, fashion design was when I really, really wanted to do that. Second thing, do your market research. Know your competition. Those are my three things.
All right, passion, market research,
Competition.
and know the competition, know the market. Okay,
Absolutely.
Salman.
I think one thing is common: do what you love, because you're going to only excel on things. Even if you're doing a job, you need to love it, and that's the way to succeed, whether it's business or whether it's job. I think data is a new oil, as everybody says. So please be fact based. You need to have some numbers with you to take decision. And I think self belief and a risk taking approach. So these four, I would say, is critical to do and love what you want.
Before I ask you, brother, I need to first of all stop it here, because what's happening is we were saying passionate. I've heard this so many times. I work with startups. I've been doing this for almost 11 years now. I hear this a lot, and some of them, they keep trying. They haven't found their love yet. They haven't found their true passion yet. They haven't found their true calling yet. Some people have a wealth of experience in a particular field, and they want to put it to use. It may be a different industry. So in your case, FMCG, but going into cosmetics or fashion apparel, right? So in advertising, and using a different faction of advertising, digital advertising, applying it differently on e-commerce. So my point is, if you don't know the passion, brother, if you don't know, you're just passionate, I want to be an entrepreneur, but I don't know what I'm good at. How do you find what you're good at is very important. Please tell us that. Is it that my friends would tell me you're good at this, do this, and make a business out of it? Who tells you that you're good at it and you make a business out of it?
See, I may be not answering from a mainstream perspective, but my belief is a little different in that sense. I think anyone can do anything. You need to be a little more organized, as Samira said. You need to be really disciplined. So there are few soft things you need to be really. So one is discipline. The other is not to cheat yourself. What Salman just mentioned, data-based. So generally people say, inshallah, mashallah, main kar lunga, ho jayega, bas ab dekh. They're not data-based. So that needs to be very kind of backed by logic and pragmatism. Third is the most important, which is persistence. Your perseverance is critically important in a startup, because not everything will go as you plan. So you'll need to pivot, you'll need to segue, you'll need to make changes in real time. As Samira said, nobody's designed or trained to be a specialist of everything. We were generally focused on one certain direction. And now as an entrepreneur, you have to look at everything. So, I mean, from a very Pakistani perspective, everything could be doing well except taxation. So you need to really understand what's and how to fix it, by the way, which is very complicated in Pakistan. So those kind of things. So those are soft things. But and just to add to what Samira and Salman said, I think in addition to your passion, what you need to do is fit that passion into a business plan. Your passion must be solving a problem. Your passion should not be, that is critical. That's where people miss out on a lot of things. If you can't fit your passion into a business plan, I think that's where the disconnect is, and in most cases, I think that's very important. Two, you need to have the right network. A lot of people do not have the right network in that ecosystem where they're playing, and you need to know the right people within that ecosystem. You can get things done if you know the right people, even if you can't do them yourselves. There are a lot of people who want to help, and you need to know the right people who can help you. And I think the other thing is just that, I know you can fit your passion into an Excel sheet. It's not that easy, but you must have a business plan. Must have a business plan with scenario analysis. I think that's what I've learned. But perseverance is the most important thing. If you ask me one thing which will drive you as an entrepreneur, is perseverance.
Thank you. Very common answers. You have to be very, very disciplined. Without that, it can't be. You have to have passion. It can't be a gut or intuition-based decision. It has to be data-driven. And
sorry, Fasi, one more thing. You need to cheer yourself up every day. Nobody else would do it. Everyone else will discourage you. You need to cheer yourself up.
Very important.
Extremely important. That passion needs to continue. That ignite needs to be there.
So persistence, perseverance. I believe these are things everyone talks about. But what I really liked here is that you're passionate, you need to translate it into a business, and you use your network for that. Very important part is the network part here. It comes into play for many fronts. And my last question because I've already, I believe, used the time that Ali allotted to us. My last question is very important because this pops up every time. And that is, where do I get the money from? I don't have the money. I don't have the resources, right? So sometimes it's an egg and a chicken thing. I have great people that I reach out to who contribute before even I need money. And sometimes I have traction. And sometimes that traction comes from my early buyers or my supporters or people who are pre-signing up. And they, bridge the funnel, bridge the gap. They are the ones who put the money in the funnel. So quickly going through all three of you, when you were doing this, was money an issue? Yes or no? If it is, or if it was not, what did you do to fix it? Samira.
Yes, money was one of the issues. I fixed it in two ways. I kept my part-time job. I had some income coming in. I asked my family to help, which my parents did. They supported me. They gave me some money to get started. So that's how, and it's a very slow start because my funding is very, very small. And I'll tell you, I only was given $6,000, which is nothing to start a business. So my progress is slow, but it's happening.
Thank you, Samira. Salman.
Money will always be an issue. I think this is something which will never
Was
be
it an
easy.
issue for you? Yes or no?
Yes, it was, and it will always be, and it is still is. But I think you need to have scenarios, as Badr said. You need to have backups. You need to have network of trustworthy people who can support you when you need it. So I think without that, it will be challenging. You will find at different stages, different financial challenges. So you need to have backups. Without the backup scenarios, it is always difficult.
The round that you raised for Bagalari, was that upfront when you started business, or was that after certain years of traction?
That was after 2 years of business.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Badr.
See, I'm again not a mainstream person. I'm not in favor of raising funding immediately. In case of Samira, that was perfectly fine. Friends, family, and fools. These three Fs are certainly always up, and they should be supporting you. But formal fundraising, I think, should be done after a certain level of bootstrapping, so that you can validate your idea, your proof of concept, your product market fit, and then you need to go out and start raising. But you should be at least and that's where the business plan thing comes in. You need to be at least in raising enough from your own revenue that you are at least sustainable for a while on your own, even if you don't really get external funding or capital. I think that's critical to understand. I know there are startup ideas, the big ideas, where revenue is not there immediately for a few years and you have a lot of burn. But I think for those who are migrating from employment to entrepreneurship, I assume they are mostly middle-aged people in a way that they have, mid-career people, I would say, and they have certain responsibilities and they need to make sure that their families are supported well. So I think in that case, I would not suggest thinking of anything which is fast moving kind of a thing. It should be steady, slow, and you should be able to manage it within your own revenues at most of the time. And that's what we have been doing, by the way. We have been bootstrapping ourselves and we have managed within our own revenues.
Thank you, Badr. Thank you, gentlemen and lady, for very insightful conversation. And for me, it was a great learning to know actually how different people in their different perspectives, with their different perspectives, different trajectories, have actually embarked on this journey of entrepreneurship. So for those of you who are listening, my concluding remarks after listening to this is that there would never be the right time. The best right time was a few years ago. So this is it. Do experiment. The worst that would happen is that you would be better off in how to do it the next time, right? And that's the worst, what else can come out of it? So please do that. I've failed twice on different startups. I'm doing one right now. That's the reason I'm here as well, one of the reasons. So I would say that cultivate a very, very good network of people around you. People who have done it, people who are struggling to do it, people that can relate to you, people that you want to be related to, that you aspire to be, and people who create opportunities. We are surrounded with problems in this world, which means there are opportunities to fix those problems. So that's it from my side. Thank you, Ali. Thank you, Badr, Salman, and thank you, Samira.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you
Bye.
so much.
Wow, thank you so much to everybody. And I think I have only one complaint, that I didn't attend the similar session when I was leaving the job. And if you ask me honestly, I mean, bit biased, but my favorite comment was from Badr when he said, "Hold on, Fasi, very important thing, and that is like cheer up yourself every day." I think honestly speaking, guys, I felt it because sometimes I did a very big project. I'm actually appreciating my team, but then there's nobody who is appreciating me. And I was actually feeling empty. I went to psychiatrist that I'm not happy. And he said that because there is no internal reward system, people are either giving you money or they don't care. So now I made the appreciation as part of every project, that how I will reward myself. So I think this was one of the key learning from this topic, and I'm super happy the way Fasi you anchored the session, and Badr, Samira, and Salman. I think amazing. I would love to share this specific session with all of the people who are actually talking behind the scene with me. यार ये मैं भी छोड़ना चाहता हूँ. How to do it? I think this is wonderful session for them, and I'm sure it will be a very valuable for all of them. Thank you so much once again, guys. Very humble and very excited for your contribution to make the world a better place. Inshallah, when robot will be, replacing a lot of people, before that we will leave the jobs. We will not wait for our uh, employer to say, "All right, okay, tomorrow morning you're not coming." I think we'll do something before that, and I think I wish Badr best of luck as well, because yesterday night he shared with me that a proper degree in LUMS. So I'm not getting any commission by them. I'm just like I'm saying that a proper degree where they're talking about technology, business, and entrepreneurship. And I think all of us should actually look forward to it. So once again, thank you so much, and yeah, to your time, and we move
Hey,
forward to the last part. Yes, Fasi.
sorry, Ali. Sorry, but I just wanted to say this very important thing. There was a time when people who were successful were judged on their IQ, right? And then this became a quotient to hire them for leading positions. Then we're going through a time when leaders are judged on their emotional quotient, whether they're emotionally intelligent or not. And the time shall come when EQ and IQ, because IQ has been taken over by the machines now, that EQ, as artificial intelligence takes over, empathy part would be built in. What would never be taken out is the LQ, the love quotient, the compassion that we hold for humans, right? As humans. So I absolutely believe that no matter how many bots or robots we create or we make to get our lives easier, uh, this would always be there, that they can't. So yeah.
And yes, I love you too,
वो शेर है,
Fasi.
दर्द दिल के लिए पैदा किया इंसान को, है दर्द दिल के
सैन
वास्ते पैदा
फ्रांसिस्को के
किया
करीब
इंसान
लव लव क्वोशंट ही याद आता है. ठीक है फसी
असल में
साहब,
when
we
you
are learning from
वो
I need to get on a call with you, brother.
So we miss you too, Fasi. Come back soon so that we have good session on Shisha. Yeah, missing you too. So thank you so much, guys. Yeah. So moving on to the last part. Thank you so much, and I'm sure people are looking forward to have our fireside chat kind of conversation. So how are you, sir?
बिल्कुल ठीक ठाक Ali. I'm joining you from National Incubation Center, just right across the hall. We have close to 100 female entrepreneurs, students, budding entrepreneurs, and they're going through a design thinking training. And there's nothing more satisfying than seeing the youth of Pakistan so energized. Yeah, so it's a good feeling. It's a good day so far, Ali.
Yep, and inshallah, we will also having your precious presence and making the contribution for the other entrepreneurs which are watching this video right now. So Abu Bakr, the first question, what kind of opportunities, because I see like you always see the future and vision the future, I always see that. So generally for the Pakistan market, what kind of opportunities you foresee for the entrepreneurship coming 2022 onwards?
Ali, good question. देखिए, entrepreneurship की opportunities तो immense हैं. And if you look at what we've seen with the Pakistani startup ecosystem over the last 6 months, more funding has been raised over the last 6 months than any equivalent period ever in Pakistan's history. So the ecosystem is definitely heating up. जो हम देखते हैं ना अली, वो ये है कि यार, if you have identified a problem to be solved, that is a problem for the mass segment, masses के solutions पेश करता है. So there will always be a demand. And yes, we have COVID times, and yes, we have other economic challenges, but businesses and ideas thrive in even the most difficult of circumstances. ऐसा तो नहीं है कि ग्रेट डिप्रेशन में कभी कोई अच्छे आइडियाज नहीं आए या इकोनॉमिक डाउन टर्न में कभी कोई अच्छे आइडियाज नहीं आए. Actually, those moments are the catalyst of positive change. Those moments are the catalyst of identifying problems that got us there in the first place and then coming out with solutions. So उस सिलसिले में what I do see in Pakistan and for Pakistani talent is that we're a developing country, right? So we have many problems that are not yet solved. चाहे वो energy के हो, चाहे वो transportation के हो, चाहे वो e-commerce के हो, चाहे वो mobile health के हो, चाहे mobile education के हो, and the list goes on and on. And I think it's a perfect opportunity for us to try and explore those more as we go along. So I see a bright future. It's just about now not only having the right ideas, but nurturing them well.
Great. So like there's a lot of opportunities as like in transportation, e-commerce, and the other fields for us. Sir, a simple question बताएं for entrepreneurs. See, when we talk about NICs, when we talk about startups, incubation center, everything, we're thinking about technology, the tech startups. Now, there are a lot of employees who are actually joined this session. So people from marketing, people from HR, people from finance. So they are worried like, your startup or entrepreneurship has actually became everything about technology. So is it about technology only, or like please जरा थोड़ा इस पे बताएं ना जरा हमें.
अली यार देखो, टेक्नोलॉजी तो कभी प्रॉब्लम रही नहीं है ना, टेक्नोलॉजी तो कभी मसला रहा ही नहीं है. टेक्नोलॉजी की एवोल्यूशन और जो पेस है वो इतनी तेज है, आपको और मुझे शायद याद हो, बाकी जो नौजवान नस्ल है उनको, मैं हम दोनों को नौजवान नस्ल में कैटेगराइज नहीं कर रहा लिया, आई होप यू डोंट माइंड, बट जो बाकियों को शायद याद
अगर
ना
आप
हो,
रिस्क ले रहे हैं तो फिर मैं भी रिस्क ले लेता हूँ.
आप रिस्क ले लेना चाहिए, हमें हकीकत का सामना करना चाहिए. बट आई थिंक we would remember the time where if you had to make an international phone call, वो घर में हमेशा they would in the neighborhood there would always be some families that were more well off के international phone call के लिए आप उनके घर जाते थे, या अदरवाइज आप PTCL के ऑपरेटर को मिलाते थे और कहते थे यार ये 6 मिनट की कॉल है या 3 मिनट की कॉल है, अगर उससे दोस्ती हो तो वो 3 मिनट की कॉल कर लेता था आपके लिए, पैसे कम, वो चीजें चलती थी. And I well remember the time where when you wanted to connect to the PC or the internet, you would have these P1, 233 processes, और वो आप कनेक्ट करने के लिए पूरी आवाज आती थी जी के कनेक्टिंग. वो घर का फोन की तार जो है वो डिस्कनेक्ट हो जाती थी, बिजी, ऊपर से आवाज आती थी वालदा की कि क्या कर दिया, फोन बिजी हो गया. So technology is moving at a fast pace. Now we're speaking like this. You can communicate with each other on video conferencing platforms. COVID, it's a tragedy, but it's taught us that you're able to conduct business digitally as well. So the fact remains that this has never been an impediment. Kodak was known to have one of the first rights to the digital camera. So technology issue नहीं था. इशू ये है कि जो हमारी बिजनेसेस और स्टार्टअप्स बनती है ना, उसमें कॉम्पोजिशन अक्सर अली सही नहीं होती, बिकॉज हम या तो डिजाइनर्स भर देते हैं या टेक्नोलॉजी एक्सपर्ट्स भर देते हैं और सारे के सारे हम अपने जैसे लोग भर्ती कर देते हैं, एंड यू डोंट गेट डाइवर्सिटी ऑफ थॉट, बिकॉज the real challenge is how do you leverage technology to solve customer problems. आप customer use cases पे कैसे focus करते हो? And I think that's something that has not been done well by even large corporates, let alone startups. They feel they have a platform, they feel they have an app, and that's it. They don't know what to do with it. The ability to translate that in solving a customer problem that's what's going to differentiate us. कि कौन सी ऐसी problems हैं आज जिनको हमने technology से solve करना है. Technology is just an enabler. And I tell you now, and Ali, I have no problems in saying this. I don't have a crystal ball, Armika. I can tell the future. I wish I could. I would have been a billionaire if that was the case. But I can tell you this, any startup that leverages technology to solve problems of the mass segment, that startup will be successful. If we try and solve problems of a niche segment, a select group, you will face more challenges. Agar aap everyday problems ko solve karenge na, you have the ability to become a household name. So I think to, even large corporates, large corporates are not really better than startups on this. We may sound, or we may show कि जी हम बहुत अच्छे हैं इसमें, but I think everyone has that room for improvement to try and solve customer problems and focus on customer use cases.
So yeah, but I understand from you now, because the current is digital, the future is digital, and digital is accelerated. So even the people from marketing, people from finance, they can have actually, they need to think about solving the customer problem, but solving at the mass level, it should be drive through the technology. So I think this is why I understood from your point. Now, see, a lot of people are tired from the working with the corporate world. What if they don't have unique idea about solving some problem? So how can they transfer themselves to entrepreneurship life? Do they have place?
यार मैं आपको अली दो तीन चीजें, एक तो मैं बताऊं ना कि entrepreneurship ना is a mindset, and I always say this, that you should know yourself really really well. पहली बात ये है कि जो सारे सुन रहे हैं ना, अपने आप से झूठ नहीं बोलना कि किस किस्म के हो. खुद पता होता है इंसान को कि यार वो पैशनेट है, ड्रिवन है, मोटिवेटेड है, entrepreneurial है या नहीं है. Sometimes you want to have this persona about ourselves towards other people, and asal mein we're quite different. So the first thing would be for us to know who we are. An entrepreneurial mindset is not something that necessarily comes naturally to everyone. So you need to assess yourself first. क्योंकि अगर आपका entrepreneurial mindset है ना, तो you can apply that in your corporate world, you can apply that in your personal life, you can apply that in your startup business as well. So I think first, I would say, Ali, is to know yourself, know your shortcomings, know your skill. Second thing I would say is कि यार passion कितना है? Are you willing to go to 100%? Because Pakistan is a country जिसमें opportunities तो शायद आपके पास हो, लोग ज़्यादा हैं, right? And when you say commitment in 200%, it's always relative. It's relative to the next person in the room. क्या आप कितने committed हैं? आप क्या चीज, to what extent are you willing to go? Are you willing to work extra hours? Are you willing to be smart? Are you willing not to have a mediocre existence? ना जिंदगी तो मिल रही है, अब आपके पास ऑप्शन है ना अली, अब क्या बात क्या करनी है, ऑप्शन है 9 to 5 करो और चिल में करो, या उसी 9 to 5 को इतना मीनिंगफुल बनाओ कि you actually go home and say यार you help make a difference or cause a difference. So I think I would say कि how motivated you are makes a difference. And then surround yourself, Ali, with people who bring diversity of thought. Problem ये है कि हमारी personal और professional life में ना हमें वो लोग पसंद है जो हमारी हाँ में हाँ मिला देते हैं. If we mess up, and if I speak with someone and say यार तूने बिल्कुल सही किया अबू बकर, तूने उसकी बेइज्जती की, बहुत अच्छा किया, तूने वो तो deserve ही नहीं करता. If someone is not able to say to me, you know what, Abu Bakr, you should have handled the situation differently. If someone is not able to say it to other people and say and tell you as it is, then you don't have a diverse group. And if you don't have a diverse group, you will never get good ideas. चाहे वो पर्सनल लाइफ के लिए डिसीजन हो, चाहे आपके ऑफिस के लिए हो, चाहे आपकी बिजनेस के लिए हो. I see this in businesses. So businesses, they stack themselves with technology experts or designers, और सारे के सारे finance वाले भर देते हैं. Why you need someone to conceptualize a product. You need someone to market it, who's good in communication. You need someone who understands financials to make a profit out of it. So you need that diversity in your life. And lastly, I would say that it's not necessary कि आपके ideas जो हैं बहुत ही complicated. Some of the best ideas are very, very simple, Ali. They're the simplest of ideas. And that's why I say if you have an entrepreneurial mindset and if you're able to develop that, then yes, you can do well in the corporate world and you can do well in running your own businesses as well.
Sir,
again because personally मैं इन points को ले रहा हूँ. So देखिए, so knowing yourself first is I think very important because there are people. See, so life is all about happiness. If you feel a corporate world is something where we can make the contribution, we should live with the corporate world. And if you feel like नहीं entrepreneurship की तरफ ज़्यादा अच्छा लगेगा, तो we should proceed. So जो दूसरा point है आपका, if I just put it on myself, I think देखिए जब like when you're in a corporate world, आपका network भी is surrounded more about corporate के लोगों के साथ हो रहा होता है. So when you're leaving the organization, you do not have that entrepreneurship network. So that is, I think, it's a very important point for the audience to note that if you want to transition to entrepreneurship, please have your conversation with entrepreneurship first. उनके साथ कॉफी शॉफी पीना शुरू करें, NICs के चक्कर लगाएं, मिलना बुलाना शुरू करें, because so that you understand that. Sir, one personal question. देखिए, आपने बात की कि like you need to know yourself. Yes, fine. Now, if I put it on myself, right, like working for 15 years, I was quite passionate about going for entrepreneurship. But the moment you landed, all the passion, all the energy is gone because like when like your wife is saying, okay, बच्चों की fees देनी है, ये करना है, so passion and everything is out of the window. I think that is something quite challenging. Like before, when you are in an AC room, like getting good salary, you think of entrepreneurship, you feel like, yaar, मैं बड़ा motivated हूँ. But once you entered into that, nobody is attending your phone calls and nobody is there. So वो motivation को maintain करना, क्या कहते हैं आप, like how to make it possible?
Yeah, Ali, agar, if you look at one common trait, two common traits of people who have been successful in their own businesses or entrepreneurial ventures, वो दो traits हैं, चाहे वो पाकिस्तान हो, चाहे वो ग्लोब का कोई हिस्सा हो, अली वो कॉमन है. उनमें से एक तो ये है कि this burning passion, this fact that you are relentless, the fact that you don't give up, that you take feedback and you pivot, but that desire never ends. वो half-hearted measures, I've never seen an entrepreneur that has been successful with half-hearted measures. And the ones who do undertake half-hearted measures, वो कभी successful होते ही नहीं हैं. The people who do not invest their time in customer service, professionalism, taking feedback, testing with customers, making change, जिनके egos बहुत बड़े हो जाते हैं ना, अक्सर corporates में ये बड़ा मसला है. You go from a corporate to a startup, तो जिस तरह आपने कहा, वो आदत होती है साफ culture. सलाम जी, क्या हाल है? चाय लाऊं आपके लिए सर, चाय लाऊं. तो ego is your biggest enemy because it blocks ideas. Because when you have an ego, तो फिर होता ही है कि कमरे में 6 लोग बैठे हुए हैं ना, अगर उनमें से 5 के अच्छे आइडियाज हैं और उनमें से 3 ऐसे हैं जो आपसे जूनियर है, तो आप दिल में सोचते हो यार ये कल का बच्चा, इसको क्या पता. You're not focusing on the idea that he or she would have given. You focus on कि कल का बच्चा है, मैं पिछले 15-20 साल से कर रहा हूँ, इसकी मजाल कैसे हुई कि वो करे. So एक चीज, so like I said, the one skill I've realized in people who make it big in entrepreneurial ventures is they have this relentless passion and burning desire to do what they do, and they're always open. They have their vision unki hai, but how to get there mein na, vision apna hi hai, but how to get there mein they're always receptive to the best ideas. So that's one. Second cheese, Ali, जो आप कह रहे हैं ना, वो जो pressures आते हैं कि यार family ने कहा, बेगम ने कहा, or if a girl is going into it, if her family or parents or siblings or spouse is saying, "Ji, what are you doing?" The second thing is the people who make it are thick-skinned. जो खाल है ना, उनकी थोड़ी सी मोटी होती है. Thick-skinned. Thick-skinned doesn't mean that you're not empathetic, because empathy is the base of design thinking. It's the base of everything you do. You should have an emotional connect with people and with everything you do. But thick-skinned का मतलब ये है कि अगर 10 लोग बातें कर रहे हैं ना अली, तो आप यू आर एबल टू फिल्टर कि यार इन 2-3 लोगों की बातें इंपॉर्टेंट है, बाकियों की आपने यहाँ से सुननी है अली और यहाँ से निकाल देनी है. Thick skinned means that when you face challenge, when you face pressure, you are able to overcome that and you're resilient. Well, if an entrepreneur, every time that entrepreneur gets beaten down, if every time that entrepreneur is not going to sleep well or say bas main to I give up because meri to badi class hogi aaj, you'll never make it. You'll never make it in your personal life, let alone any business venture, because this is the big bad world, guys. Time to grow up. If you want to differentiate, if you want to be the best, you take the hits and you come back stronger. This is not a film dialogue, this is the truth. So if you have that burning desire, so you should be willing to face the consequences. Na? There's no free lunch. You cannot say, ki, yaar, acha, I want this, but at the same time, I'm not willing to take the difficult steps on the journey. You can't do that. And if you're thick-skinned, I found that especially in entrepreneurial ventures, that serves you well. But again, I just want to focus again, Ali, कि thick skin का मतलब ये नहीं है कि empathy ना हो. It just means that you can deal with difficult situations, you can overcome, you can be resilient, you feel down, but then you quickly bounce back. You don't let it overcome you and your ambitions.
Exactly. Sir, if you just allow, I'll just give you example. Like when I left the job, so I was following some senior leader, yaar inse mashwara karna, like how to do it. So I actually left the job at that time. So I was following him, like I told him, like, yaar aapko to main girlfriend की तरह follow कर रहा हूँ, like वो आप इधर कल मिलूंगा परसों मिलूंगा. So when I met,
Ali, ये सेंसर कर दे, ये वाली बात, ये लाइव जा रहा है, लेकिन चलो carry on.
So I met the person in Serena, sir. So मैंने कहा जी ये मेरा idea है. उन्होंने कहा it's bullshit. Sorry, no, it's not working. I said no, but I am working since last 2 years. But no, it's not work. So he just thrashed the idea altogether. And what I did, it actually honestly given me more energy. So मैंने कहा ऐसी की तैसी अब तो करना है इंशाल्लाह ताला. And lot of challenges came in, लेकिन मैंने कहा नहीं यार इसको छोड़ना नहीं है. And over the period मुझे ये लगा कि people start believing, आप जैसे लोग, हारून and different people, they start believing कि नहीं यार it's an opportunity and it's a gap in the industry. So I think जो आपने ये वाली बात की है कि ego को खत्म करके आपके अंदर burning passion होना चाहिए कि regardless what people say, आप persistent रहे, definitely future is bright इंशाल्लाह उस लिहाज से.
अली, मैं एक चीज कहूंगा उसमें कि अपने ना for all entrepreneurs or budding entrepreneurs who are listening to this, surround yourself with people जिनकी opinions should matter to you. So most of the opinions you get shouldn't matter to you, because the people will, you shouldn't get down because someone makes a joke about what you're doing or the decisions you've taken. But you should surround yourself with a few people कि अली अगर वो आपको फीडबैक दें या वो मुझे फीडबैक दें कि अली यार ये जो है ना मेरे ख्याल में सही नहीं है, या अबू बकर ये मेरे ख्याल में you should do differently. We must have that group. Because like I keep saying कि जो फर्क है ना thick skin का मतलब ये नहीं है कि you block yourself from ideas. Some of the best ideas that come in entrepreneurial ventures come from teams and people around you. They come from your society. They come from your social circle. You should be receptive to those ideas. And I think वो core group आपका एक ऐसा होना चाहिए कि if that core group says to you कि यार Ali, I didn't agree with what you did, or you could have done it better, that you should be open to do that. And I think that's really important. Because the beauty is कि ये जो digital age में है ना entrepreneurial ventures, I'm not going to say they're a walk in the park, Ali, लेकिन यार ये बहुत बड़ी opportunity बन गई है. मैं ये जो design training कर रहे हैं, बहुत सी taboos है पाकिस्तान में, बहुत सी जगहों पे ख़वातीन cannot leave their homes. But now you can do your business through your phone. Yes, you will face red tapeism. Yes, you will face issues. Yes, there will be problems. But that's life, like I said. Having said that, you can run businesses from social media platforms now. So this is a big opportunity. You can never reach audiences just through a traditional brick and mortar model. Brick and mortar model की अपनी significance है, importance है, वो रहेगी, because there's nothing like face-to-face interactions, nothing like it. But the fact that you can now reach a global audience digitally is something that is really refreshing for new startups. Or aista, I will say that some of the work that SECP is doing now, the sandboxing, जिसमें वो कह रहे हैं कि जी अगर आप एक स्टार्टअप हैं, और ये भी बड़ा मसला है ना अली यार, स्टार्टअप्स को ना सबको डिजाइनिंग और टेक्नोलॉजी उसमें लगा दिया है, बच्चों को ये नहीं बताया अभी कि यार टैक्स में कहाँ रिबेट मिलेगा, कंपनी को ऑपरेट करने में कहाँ रिबेट मिलेगा, एक्सपोर्ट करने के लिए क्या रूल्स हैं, क्या आसानियां पैदा हुई हैं. तो खैर SECP has come up with sandbox regulations which makes it easier for for startups. The FBR and SBP have worked with tax rebates. The National Incubation Center, where I'm sitting, is doing a fantastic job. So
Yep.
the startups should try and avail those features, because I think technology and the digital age is giving us great opportunities now.
Yep. Sir, we're moving to the last part of our conversation. Hardcore opportunities. जो आपको पता है, like, and जो employees हैं, if they want to transition to entrepreneurship, so वो तो एक job कर रहे हैं, so they cannot leave the job full time. So what do you think category wise कि किस तरह की opportunities उनको first priority में explore करनी चाहिए?
Good question, Ali. अच्छा, पहले तो मैं I'll say this कि if someone is in a corporate and they want to start their own venture, पहली बात मैं ये कहूंगा कि ये थॉट आपके ज़हन में once a month आता है जब बॉस से बेइज्जती होती है, या जिसको हम कहते हैं बेइज्जती होती है.
Very good,
जब
very good
बॉस से
point.
बेइज्जती होती है तो सारों को आता है कि यार मैं ना अपना करूंगा कुछ, बस बाहर में क्या सब. If that is the only impetus or moment you feel like starting your own venture, don't do it. ना करें. So first you need to know yourself and listen to yourself कि वो जो voice है ना अली, वो कितनी जोर से बोल रही है, कितने रेगुलरली बोल रही है आपको कि यार you need to do something of your own. If it's a fleeting interest, a passing interest, never do anything half-hearted. Don't go for it. गलत है. So I'm assuming first, Ali, assumption set ये है कि someone is now has this inner voice that is now knocking on the door 24/7 कि I need to do something of my own. If you don't have that, जो महीने के पैसे मिलते हैं ना, सब्र शुक्र करो और बस. अगर वो वॉइस आपको बार बार कह रही है कि नहीं, there is a bigger purpose, I have to achieve something on my own, I can create a societal impact, etc., only then you start exploring. And then I will say, yes, be passionate, pursue your dreams. But I don't believe, I'm not like some of those entrepreneurs who will say कि जी जो मेरे the people who matter to me वो गए बाढ़ में. I can't say that. You must know that what is your financial position, who depends on you, what alternative means do they have. अगर वो बहुत ही अच्छे हैं तो yes, you may want to leave altogether first off. अगर वो नहीं है, then you need to take baby steps. Because the people who matter to you, if you can't take care of them, तो बाकियों का क्या ख्याल रखोगे यार? बाकियों के लिए क्या दुनिया कहाँ चेंज करोगे? जब अपने वालों के लिए दुनिया नहीं चेंज कर सकते तो बाकियों के लिए क्या करोगे? So I would say कि know your circumstances. So first, know the strength of the inner voice. वो strength है नहीं है. Number 2, know your circumstances. उसकी basis पे, if you believe that you cannot leave totally immediately, then go for a partnership model. Don't go for a business where you are everything, where you need to be involved 24/7. Go for a partnership model where you have 2, 3, 4 other people, जिसमें से एक आध शायद devoted हो, where you can give some of your advice, your inputs, your finances in your extra time and get the venture off the ground. Never go for something that you have to manage alone. That's number 1. So partnership model, or go for a franchising model where you have a business that is set up and you try and get a license of it to try and take it forward. And then test small. ये जो हम कहते हैं ना यार कि आर या पार, हम वो है ना, या छक्का मार देंगे या बोल्ड हो जाएंगे, हम वेल लेफ्ट कर देंगे, बोल्ड हो जाएंगे, या छक्का मार देंगे, सीधे भले से खेलना ही नहीं हमने. अली, here I will say कि test your venture. चाहे वो आप in your business है, you're doing your job, test small. See the customer response. See what needs to be tweaked. See what needs to be pivoted. And उस टेस्टिंग की iteration को बार बार करें. In 6 months, you will know what the potential is. You will know the decisions you need to take. और एक और चीज मैं अली कहूंगा डिजिटल में लास्ट ही कि when you decide to leave, because आपने ये सारे processes, steps hopefully follow किए होंगे, and आपने वो customer results देखे होंगे जिसकी basis पे you decided कि it can go big. But if you find in that 6-month period that it's not going to work, सिर्फ पैशन होना काफी नहीं है, इधर भी कुछ होना जरूरी है ना. डिजिटल का ये भी बिलीफ है कि यू शुड फेल फास्ट. ये जो होते हैं ना कि हम अड़े रहेंगे, हम थिक स्किन्ड है, सिद्धार्थ वगैरह ने कहा थिक स्किन्ड हो जाओ तो हम अड़े रहेंगे. No, you must be receptive, that empathy that I spoke about. So have that burning passion, know your circumstances. If you have less time, go for partnership models and franchising, test small, keep pivoting, and then only take the decision when you think now the potential is there to go big.
I think, sir, I have a small complaint. जब when I was leaving the job, आपने ये बातें मुझे उस वक्त क्यों नहीं बताई? Seriously.
अली मिला नहीं था ना मेरे से, मिला नहीं था ना उस वक्त.
So seriously, now when I talk to my ex-colleagues, so I tell them, yeah, if I get a chance to go back 4-5 years back, start the business again, I will not start alone. I think partners है, because sir देखिए उसमें you actually get tired because you were so excited, you're working 24 hours, and by the way 9 to 5 is something we say 9 to 5 is a boring, but entrepreneurship is actually 24/7. So last 4-5 years I don't get Saturday, Sunday off. It's not like somebody's asking you, but you're doing by your choice. But having the partnerships, I think there are a few things which are learning for me as well, like having partnership so that you spread the pain, you spread the happiness as well. Yesterday, sir, a very interesting baat that came in the conversation. Reward yourself because there's nobody else going to reward you, because that's natural in the organization. We do small things and company has the processes, they give the prizes and they give awards. When you come to the entrepreneurship, for the many years you're not being rewarded and you feel like, yeah, I mean, am I doing good? So that is something we need to make part of our process when we go through it. Yeah.
नहीं बिल्कुल अली, I will say this, कि for entrepreneurs like yourself, it's also time to, it's also important, नौकरियों में भी जरूरी होता है, but especially for budding entrepreneurs to remain sane. That means that while you have this passion for what you do, make sure you have an outlet that you know helps you relax, that helps you put things in perspective, that helps you set aside your struggles, because it's not easy. Setting up a business is not easy. And I always say this, Ali, कि इंसान जो भी फैसला करे ना, जितना भी कठिन हो, अगर आप अपनी आंखें खोल के और कान खोल के वो डिसीजंस लेते हैं ना, तो you know what you're getting yourself into. ठीक है, 20-30% still surprise होगा, 50% surprise होगा, but at least you try and say, okay, this is what I'm going to face, and I have to be ready for it. If you do it, take a decision with that thought process, वो जब मुश्किल आती भी है ना, you're still able to handle it a little better, as we do day to day.
All right, sir. So I think this is time to conclude. So I'm just summarizing. Please help me to add something if I miss out. So key takeaways for the audience if they want to move from employment to entrepreneurship. So first of all, they should be burning desire. As I said, like if महीने में एक दफा class हो रही है and then you feel it, don't do it. So that's something important. If it keep buzzing you, then it's the time to go through it. Then the second very important point is the budding mentor, the people whose advice matters to you. I think you need to devise that group well before time. And when it comes to opportunities, because you need to make a ramp up approach, so go for partnership and the franchises where you do not need to burn a lot. And last but not the least, test your idea, because a lot of time since we are in employment, so we feel that yeah, ye bada zabardast idea, but idea is as good as when the customer gives you the response. So these 4 steps which I see that from your conversation I take away. Anything last comments sir which you would like to add in that?
नहीं बस पांचवा ये कर दें कि make sure that you focus on the customer problem to be solved and not the technology. और इसी से लिंक ये होगा कि your partnership with your team must be of people who share your vision but don't have the same skills as you. अगर आपने सारे अपने जैसे इकट्ठे कर दिए तो no one will be able to give you a diversity of opinion. So that would be the 5th. Last thing, Ali, I'll say this to you. कि यार अली जो आपका पैशन है ना, आपकी टीम का for what you do is something that needs to be appreciated publicly. आप जब इवेंट करते हो तो सिर्फ आप इवेंट नहीं करते, आप स्पीकर्स और उनका ना अच्छे तरीके से दिमाग की चटनी बना लेते हो, क्योंकि यू कॉन्टैक्ट देम पहले बार ये थीम है, ये मकसद है, इस तरह हमने करना है, ये फायदा होगा, ये नुकसान होता है, बंदा कहता है अली बस करते मैं हैंडल कर लूंगा. but you do it because you want to make sure कि ये event सिर्फ एक event ना हो, एक meaningful discussion हो, और हमेशा you focus on key takeaways. And I'm happy to say, Ali, कि the opportunity that I had to speak at your last DX summit on financial inclusion, and a lot of other people have spoken on various forums. Now we see the government moving on जो हमने कहा था ना SME emergency. So
Yep.
there is a committee set up from the government to spur on the SME sector. There is work that the SPP is doing now on digital customer onboarding. So, buddy, the events you are hosting and are organizing, they're influencing regulation, they're influencing lives. So you should know that.
Sir, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I think again, I would appreciate my team and people like you. And I always say, like in industry, there are great people like Harun, yourself, Gazan, so different people. So I think we are very honored to have your kind support more than your organization is for the country. So very happy to hear that. And with this one, I would say once again, thank you to you.
Thank
And
you.
the effort you're making for the people, for the industry, we appreciate that. Looking forward to meeting you further, inshallah.